podcast. I'm your host, per usual, Sean Tyson, here with Zoo and Peepers. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Some crazy half court, full court shots in college and NBA, man. Most NBA called back this past week, man. Embiid, PG. Then we got some nice game winners in college this past week, ramping up for the conference tourneys. So I'm sure we'll get into that in the next couple weeks.
For sure, man. NBA this weekend, man, was an all-timer, man. After a disappointing NBA All-Star game performance, man, the regular season, they brought their A game, man. Saw one of the best regular season games of all time. The Sacramento Kings with the showcase against the Los Angeles Clippers. One of my favorite games I've seen in my entire freaking life, man. It was just playmaking. Like, they got the 170, man. It wasn't like their defense was trash. Like, it was something was just straight shot making, man. Shout out to Malik Monk, man. That dude reminds a lot of J.R. Smith, man. When he's out of heater, man, the dude's unbelievable. So shout out to them. And shout out to Dame Lillard with a 70-piece, man. Made it look easy.
Yeah, we'll definitely be talking about Lillard later. That's kind of hard to say 3 times fast, but we'll be talking about him and some potential guys that can maybe get to that 70, 80 range of this season or maybe in the future. But I wanted to start off with some, I guess you could say, B-line storylines with a couple of teams that I guess you could say in that 4, 5, 6 range in both sides of the playoffs with the East and the West. And I wanted to ask the guys, some of their thoughts on those teams, who you can maybe see in that range. I don't, they could maybe bring up the plan, but I kind of want to stick to teams that are in that top 6 and maybe the teams that are at that 4, 5, and 6 range, who you could see pulling off an upset. And people, Sean, we'll start with you.
It's just tough, man, because you were just talking about a pre-production, Sean. The East especially, I'll start there. You got your top cream of the crop, right? We got the Bucks, we got the Celtics. Obviously, without Jalen Brown right now, he'll come back healthy. He'll be fine. Come playoff time, and not that Jason Tatum can't carry a team by himself, but by God, are they serious championship contenders when they have both of them on the floor, as we know, and they have a hell of a role playing squad up there in Boston. But I know we kind of talked about the Knicks, and we were kind of talking about the Heat when we were discussing topics today, and I guess I'm going to talk about the Knicks, man, because they're 6-0. I think, Sean, you posted it on the page. 6-0 since that Josh Hart trade. Jalen Brunson was a happy man. We all got to, if you guys saw the clip, when he found out Josh Hart was coming to the Knicks, man, that was kind of a funny scene. He was out somewhere in the mall or, with his
No, it's Villanova, man, retiring his jersey.
You're right. You're right. Yeah. So hell of a way to find out in his alma mater where he played with Josh Hart, won national championship there. This is a team, man, that I know, Zoo, you're not a big Julius Randle fan. You don't trust Julius Randle. I do agree with you in that sense. But, Emmanuel Quickley, man, nice player off the bench. He had a nice game last night against the Celtics, obviously without Jalen Brown. They got a couple other guys too. But Brunson, Barrett, and Randle, man. Brunson, I think, is of the 3 the most consistent. RJ Barrett you want to talk about – he's another guy, Zoo. When he's on, he's on. And when he's off, he's just having a rough day. Julius Randle, we talk about this all the time. He thinks he's Kobe in a power forward's body, man. Just sometimes goes way too ISO, taking all these fadeaway jump shots, right? So I'm looking at this Knicks team that's clearly clicking on the defensive end. I think, Thibodeau's always going to harp on that. That's just Thibodeau, man. He runs his players into the ground. Maybe Randle doesn't buy into that, but at least they're clicking on the defensive side. They're always going to give their A-list effort there. But when it comes down to the playoffs, man, looking at, that top heavy, if they end up being a 4 or 5 seed potentially, I think they're creeping up on the Cavs right now. If they end up having to play the Cavs, if, it's flip-flopped or, they stay 5 and the Cavs are 4, I don't trust them winning in the first round against the Cavaliers. Even though Mitchell Robinson can kind of match up with Jared Allen, Mitchell Robinson has had some health issues in the past. We've seen it. Will he be 100% by the time playoffs come around? Who knows? That'd be a hell of a good guard defensive matchup, though, Zoo. You got Brunson, quickly coming off the bench, man, going up against that dynamic duo up there in Cleveland, man. So, that's a team that I don't think that they could. I just think they're kind of rising as a team. They need that. They're a 1 move away kind of team, Zoo. Maybe 2, moving Randle potentially. Bringing in an actual legitimate star. God knows they were praying for KD a couple years back. That was never going to work out. So I don't know, man. I just don't really fully buy into the Knicks. And the Miami Heat, kind of similar. I just don't trust the point guard play out of Gabe Vincent, man. He's not a starting caliber NBA point guard. Great role player, great bench player. He should be coming off the bench with Strus and Oladipo, man. If they could have, I know you're not a Kyle Lowry fan, Zoo. And I don't think that he would be the answer. But that was a team that needed to make a move for a potential, Pat Bev, for example, could have been a nice combo
Yes.
with Gabe Vincent, maybe start with the defensive side, play him the first, 6-7 minutes of the quarter, then bring in Gabe Vincent for a little microwave heat up, coming off the bench, hit some threes. So, both of these teams, they have solid players. We know Jimmy Butler's a special guy. That layup last night to beat the Sixers, oh my God, it was Jordan-esque, man. And, I think that, and for that team, it completely rides on Tyler Hero's gameplay. I think that's the other thing for the Miami Heat, kind of similar to Julius Randle. If he's having a good game, the Knicks are having a good game. If Hero's having a good game, the Heat are usually doing pretty well. But you can't be shooting 3 for 13. And somehow they still beat the 76ers. So I just don't think you can keep that consistent. So both of these teams, very inconsistent this year, man.
Interesting. Knicks, man. Cute story, man. Cute story, man. It's a typical Tibbs, man. Overachieving the Vegas odds, man. Winning more games than they're supposed to. Playing hard, playing defense. I've seen this story a million times with my Chicago Bulls, man. The same thing is happening with this Knicks team, man. They have one all-star in Julius Randle, and he's like I said, man. 25 and 10. Numbers are juicy, man.
Yeah.
They're juicy. They're looking like this dude put up perennial all-star numbers, man. But I still can't get off my mind that playoff performance, man. It was one of the most atrocious performances I've ever seen in my entire life. 2 years ago when the Knicks had their breakout season, man, the dude just wet the bed against the Atlanta Hawks, man. Like, this dude shot less than 40% from the field, bricking every free throw, man. Like, he lost complete confidence in his jump shot. Pretty much, like, Knicks fans were like, man, this dude, man. After an All-NBA, he was an All-NBA player.
Yep.
All-NBA. And he fell off a cliff in the playoffs against the Atlanta Hawks, which is not a dominant team. That's a nice, like, talent-wise, pretty similar. Yeah. I'm still shocked they made the conference finals. The team is not that good, man. They're relying on guys like Kevin Huerter and, man, John Collins. Like, it's just not that good of a roster, but obviously they got their butt whooped, man. They got humbled last year, and this year they're coming out back and strong. Tibbs doing his Tibbs thing, man. I love Brunson, though. That dude's a legit player. I've seen him in the playoffs last year with the Dallas Mavericks in high leverage situations, man. He was the second best player on the Mavs team that made it to the conference finals. And he won playoff games without Luka Doncic. So he was the number one option. So he's playing that role on this team. I believe in Brunson. But the rest of the roster, man, stop it. No, the Knicks, man, no. They'll make the playoffs. I wouldn't be surprised. First round exit, man. Maybe win one game depending on the matchup. So I got them. Miami Heat, though, man. I like them.
Really?
Dude, I'm telling you, Miami Heat, man. There's something about that roster, man. Because legit, it's like the same exact roster from last year.
Yeah.
And people forget.
Pretty much, yep.
Jimmy Butler was 1 3-pointer away, man, from being up in a pretty much one possession game. So he was 2 possessions away from being the NBA Finals. 2 possessions away.
With the same team.
It's pretty much same exact roster, man.
Yep.
Same coach, same roster. Still got Bam. Bam, obviously, this year looks a lot better than last year on the offensive side of things. Defensive side of things, like, he's like top 3 in MVP based on Vegas odds right now. So he's having a terrific defensive season, like always. Could play 1 through 5, man. He's telling voters, man, vote for me for MVP because I could play 1 for 5, man. I'm versatile, man. I could be that dude in the playoffs. So he's having his best season of his career. Jimmy Butler is still the same dude, man. Puts you up 25 and 5. Playoff steps it up to another level. He's just that dude. He got the intangibles, man. He got the two-way defense, offense, man. And point guard, I agree with you. Kyle Lowry ain't it. Gabe Vincent ain't it. Jimmy Butler's my point guard in the playoffs. Jimmy Butler's my point guard. Put Max Strus in the corner. Put Tyler Hero, man. Put those guys, snipers out there shooting threes. They had another sniper and Kevin Love for pretty much for free.
That's true.
Kevin Love is still going to drain. That dude's an absolute killer from three-pointer. So if he could play his role.
Ryan Anderson.
Exactly.
He's now the Ryan Anderson.
Exactly, man. They got him for cheap, man. I still don't know why the Cavs gave him up for free. Like, he's still a productive player. Like, right now, like, they're putting him in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Like, with Bam at the center position, like, he can hit the mid-range. So they got guys that could shoot mid-range and out in their lineup right now. So I really like having Bam at the center position because of his versatility, and Caleb out there with shooting for Jimmy Butler. And that's what's going to be, man. Jimmy Butler dominating the basketball, creating plays for the wide open shooters, man. And defensively, man, based on points allowed, man, they're number 2 in the league right now, up there with the Cavs. Cavs number 1, Miami Heat number 2. So you know they have that elite defense. And you know in the playoffs, man, offenses, man, that's when the pace slows down. That's when the defense, man, half-court defense, you can lock it down. And you look at the physicality, Coach Spo's like, if you don't play defense, you can't play. That's why Duncan Robinson's out of the rotation.
Yeah.
Even though the brothers got a $90 million contract, he ain't playing because he can't play
PNP
defense.
in the box score. Coach's
Seriously,
decision.
man. One of the worst signings ever by Mr. Pat Riley. I saw this a mile away. I'm like, Duncan Robinson had one good season where he shot the lights on and gave that brother a $90 million deal. This dude was
undrafted.
D3, like D2, like undrafted. Like, had to go to Michigan. Like, this dude had a miracle career, and you give that brother $90 million. That's just stupidity, man. That's just stupidity. I remember that contract was complete blasphemous giving them that much money because they got $18 million on the bench. Like that could be multiple role players, multiple role players in the lineup right now. Because my God, but if I look at the matchups, man, if they play against the Cleveland Cavaliers young team, man, I said like Donovan Mitchell with a lot of playoff experience. Rest of the roster, man, no playoff experience. So and in the clutch this year, the Cleveland Cavaliers. They've blown some games this year, man. True. In the clutch, which is a great surprise, guy. I do like Donovan Mitchell in the clutch, man. I do like the backcourt situation, but in the regular season, they've blown some games, being up, man, not being composed, man, bricking shots, man, not coming in clutch. So a team like the Miami Heat, man, I would not be surprised if the Miami Heat knocks a team like that out because the Miami Heat is seasoned, man. Ever since the bubble run, making to the finals and almost one shot away from making to a finals again, and it's the same roster and the same coach with the same fundamental players. Miami Heat, man, I would not be surprised if they make a run this year.
All right, Zoo, I got to ask you this. Do you trust Tyler Hero in the playoffs?
As my third option?
In the playoffs?
Yeah. He's a shooter.
He's not done anything.
Yeah, he got paid a lot of money. He got paid a lot of money. I think it was definitely an overpay. Yes. They love overpaying their guys. Tyler Hero.
Everybody in the NBA gets overpaid.
True. but you gotta, there's a difference between like Tobias Harris getting his contract as a serious veteran versus like Tyler Hero. Right, getting it at 22 years old, thinking he's the absolute shit. So, he's a good player. And
he's averaging 20 a game. He's averaging 20 a game.
That's fine. But you, Julius Randle, great numbers, man. Do you trust him in the playoffs? I think that it comes for those two respective teams. I think they both have guys that they need. Maybe Randle a little bit more, but now that
Julius Randle is their number 1 or 2 option.
Sure.
Tyler Hero should be their third option.
Offensively,
if Bam steps it up.
Offensively,
Bam's averaging 20 this year. He's having a career high in points per game. So we'll see
talking about in the playoffs.
Creating the shot, though. Creating his own shot.
There you go.
Tyler Hero is their second shot creator on that team. Oladipo may have been able to do that 5 years ago. Yeah, he can't really do that anymore with his injuries. I just look at Hero.
Kyle Lowry to create some.
If only at $30 million.
Create some shots off the dribble.
Best signing of the year. Kyle Lowry's fat ass on a fucking max deal, man. Still can't get over that, man.
So easy.
Give the brother $33 million. What could go wrong, man? Fat and out of shape and sucks, man.
Zoo's picking an apple from 1 foot from the ground. Man. It's too low.
Crazy.
But yeah, I just think that's where it's going to come down to for me. For this team seriously making a run, it's Tyler Hero, right? If he's having a good game, then this team could be unstoppable because we know Jimmy is really good at slowing the game down because of his free throws. Right? He's so good at drawing fouls. He's a consistent free throw shooter. He makes a major impact by getting the other team in foul trouble, especially potentially if Donovan Mitchell had to guard him in the playoffs. Who knows who they'd end up putting up against Jimmy Butler. So, yeah, I agree. I think I trust the Heat more than the Knicks, but I think they both need some of their star players to be offensive.
I gotta put out one thing, man. 76ers, man. I picked this team to make it out of the East, but I always get nervous in the playoffs, man. And if the Miami Heat matches up with them, man, I think Jimmy Butler could upset them, man.
No,
I'm saying this.
Yes. 3-6?
Yes.
Right now, that's what it is. They're the match.
Yeah. I would be very, very nervous as I was a Sixers fan.
Sure. I think it could go 7.
It's Joel Embiid. I love Embiid. In the regular season, he's been an MVP caliber player. But I've noticed in the playoffs, even though he always gets banged up, so he's not always 100% healthy. But in the playoffs, he is not as dominant as the regular season. The physicality affects him more. Double teams in the playoffs. He's not that. I love Embiid's skill set. Not that great of a passer. Out of double teams, man. He fumbles the ball, dribbles out of control sometimes, man. He ain't no Jokic, man. He ain't no Jokic. Doesn't handle those double teams.
Even Joakim. Joakim was a good passer back in the day.
Nobody double teaming Joakim, no one, man. But Joel Embiid, man. So those are things that I'm like, and my thoughts about Doc Rivers, man. Most overrated coach.
That's the only thing I'll give you.
So those and not only that, James Harden's also last year was absolutely embarrassing. I love Harden as a player in the regular season. Like he has an all-time regular season career like stat line. In the playoffs, that last game was absolutely embarrassing. Never looked at the basket. Didn't take any shots in the second half. And when reporters asked him the end of the game, they're like, "Why didn't you like take too many shots?" He's like, "Oh, I didn't get the ball." You're the point guard, man. What are you talking about? You don't get the ball, man. Jesus Christ. So James Harden wet the bed and took a shit on his bed, man. And he's like, "Oh, that's not my fault, man." So like those are things that concern me if I'm a 76ers fan, even though they have all the talent in the world to get it done. Because Tyrese Maxey, I trust that young boy.
Nice.
Him in that 6-man role, I really like him, man. I really, really like him in the playoffs. So
I'm going to give Harden, like last year, I know the whole situation with Brooklyn and all that stuff, and I know everybody was trying to figure out where Harden's head was and his health. So a lot of people gave him a pass for that. So I'm thinking to myself, maybe that was the reason why he wasn't as effective last year playing in the playoffs with Philly. The coaching aspect for Philly is the only reason why that would become a series. Because on paper, I know Jimmy is great, and I know Bam is a good option now, and Tyler. But if Harden and Embiid are going at peak efficiency, and then you have Maxey, and then Tobias is your fourth option, you should make light work of the Heat. The only way that becomes even a series is if, say, in the first two games, Miami splits, or if Miami makes them very competitive and somehow it's still 2-0 Philly, but Miami goes home with confidence. Like Philly needs to go in and be the more dominant team. So Philly with the amount of talent, because like you say, if you even look, they have four guys who could at any point, even though Tobias is, he got his contract, whatever, he can have moments where he can get hot from three and get in the lane and do what he needs to do. So they have four guys who at any moment can dominate the game. And in our case, on a good day, Miami has two with Tyler and Jimmy. So it's like Philly has the requisite firepower to do what they need to do. But this is for me, if you would have asked me this question, I don't know, like November, I've been like, there's no way, like Knicks, like come on, bro, like what are you talking about? The Knicks, like Brunson's a nice player, like Julius Randle, that's coming off what he did in the playoffs last year. But man, to me, I think what could be key for them is when Zoo talked about Julius Randle and how he didn't show up last year. Well, I think a lot of that's because he's the number one option. He's putting up the numbers, but he's kind of was being looked at as like the pseudo leader. I really believe in Jalen Brunson as a leader, bro. I really do. And if he's controlling the pace and he's the guy, the point guard who's getting everybody set up, I like the Knicks. I do. If Brunson is healthy and he's controlling things, I like them a lot because I will say for me, watching Brunson with Luka last year really opened up my eyes of how he played as the number two option with Luka. Like he got his own shot. He was not one of those guards. It's like, he just kind of rode on Luka's coattails. Like, no, he got his own shots. He made big plays like that. He was part of the reason why they got to the Western Finals. And I don't think you can just sleep on that. So to me, I look at when we talked about the Cavs with Jimmy Butler, like playing the Cavs and that matchup, I kind of like that matchup for the Knicks a lot too, because outside of Donovan Mitchell, like to Zeus' point, what experience do they have? And if you look at the Knicks, if everybody's working and playing how they need to play, they're kind of they're a Thibodeau team, like defensively, like their numbers may not be there, but I think Tibbs could get them to play. And they have pieces on their team that could be with matchups. Like say, for instance, RJ Barrett, if he's playing to his potential, he could be a nice two-way player. He could be that. Josh Hart, another two-way player. Mitchell Robinson, if healthy, but you can talk about health with everybody. You're not going to get easy shots with Mitchell Robinson in the back. Jalen Brunson's not the crazy athletic guard, but he'll try hard and play on defense. Then if Julius Randle is locked in, he's another guy who could be a decent defensive player. So you got guys who are like really versatile. And then on the offensive end, RJ Barrett he's a number 2 pick, so he has the potential to go get you 20 a game in a playoff series. Julius Randle, you see his numbers. Jalen Brunson's going to show up. Josh Hart can knock down threes. I know he's a nice change of pace guy. I would like to see what he does in the playoffs, but there's another guy, Quentin Grimes. He's another nice guy, a guard that can go get buckets. Like they got a lot of pieces. It's not just they're not the team that's got the A-list guy like a Jimmy Butler, but they could be they're kind of similar to Dallas last year, minus Luka, like the other players. Minus Luka, they got a lot of players on their team that can make shots and play two-way defense. The Knicks have a lot of guys like that. With the Heat, Butler is the A-list player. But to me and Peebush's point, playoffs is about a guy that can go get a shot, who can create shots. Bam is a great player, and I think the Heat would not be what they are if they don't have Bam on the team.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're not throwing the ball to Bam with 5 minutes to go if you're down 4, and if Jimmy's in foul trouble. You're not. So now you're relying on Tyler Hero, and to Peebush's point, what did he do last year in the playoffs? He was not good in that Boston series. He was not. He's got to prove with the contract that he's got now that he can be a guy that if Jimmy gets in foul trouble, give me the ball and I can go get a quick 8 to 10 points. I believe in Jalen Brunson to go get me a bucket in the clutch. And I know we're dogging on Julius, but if Julius is that second option, he's going to have a lot of less pressure on him. I like
That's
that.
true.
I like Julius as a second option. I don't like Julius as the first option, and that was your point, Zoo, as the first option. I don't. But if Jalen Brunson is making those decisions with 4 minutes left on the clock, I love it. I love it. I like that because he's proven that he can do that.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Miami Heat, New York Knicks in the playoffs. Who you picking?
Knicks. I think I picked the Knicks, bro.
Okay.
Because Jalen Brunson, the thing is, listen, Jalen Brunson for me, he controls. I know that Heat have the experience, but Jalen Brunson and I would say I wasn't on that train at first. I was like, God, why are you paying a freaking 6-foot point guard, free agency, whatever? But how he's gotten that team to at least settle down and be more mature, like you said, to your point, Julius Randle being the number one option. It's obvious last year we watched the playoffs. He wasn't ready for that. He was just chucking up shots, trying to be Mr. Do-It-All. That's not him. But I think it says something when you have, and if you look at the history of the game, when you have a point guard, Chris Paul is a perfect example of that. Not saying Jalen Brunson is Chris Paul, but look what happened when he got to the Phoenix Suns. They became a completely different team. Devin Booker was still the all-star shooting guard, and DeAndre Ayton was still young, but they had guys, Mikal Bridges, all those guys. They weren't doing nothing. Chris Paul came in there, controlled the plays. They got to the finals. That matters. Having a point guard in there that's going to, when you get down 7 and Julius Randle wants to go down and shoot an uncontested 3, no. Give me the ball. Let us get us in the play. Let's figure it out. Now, if Jalen Brunson didn't do what he did in the Western Finals last year, I'd be like, I don't know, because I don't know what he can do. But seeing how he was able to play off Luka, I like his leadership, man. I like his leadership. And like you said, the Knicks roster is not. They got some dudes. They don't have guys that are. Yeah, I forgot about Obi Toppin. He's another athletic guy that can run around and throw up. There's bodies you can throw.
Dude's gonna blow a gasket, Sean. I can just see
I don't know.
These guys are naming y'all Quentin Grimes, man. I'm like,
yeah, you're all on Devin Caruso, man. Come on,
it's the same no. That's me having fun with a cute story with my Bulls, man. And the Knicks are a cute story that's actually in the playoffs right now, above 500.
This is because of Brunson. Be clear. This is all. A lot of this. Why I'm saying this is because of Brunson's leadership. I think if he's leading your team, you're, like to your point with the Cavs being.
All I'm saying is I'm taking a team led by Jimmy and Spo over Brunson and Tibbs. I love Tibbs, but he's got limited set coaching. Man. He has.
I think Sean, what it comes down to, I do trust Jimmy Butler more on every player across both teams. I think he's the most.
Yes, he's the A-list guy for sure.
He's the A-list guy for sure. And you break it down, I agree. I mean, I think we're talking about what the Knicks could be if Brunson takes that number one lead. Ideally, I just don't see it because Randall is such a he's a more assertive Zach Randolph, man. They were both black holes in the post. That's how they play. And Randall just, he's in MSG.
Brunson's going to have to shut that up.
Exactly.
Shut that up.
Will they be able to do that over the next 2 months? I just don't know if they'll make that transition, which is the only reason I think the Knicks could be better if they are able to make that transition. But if Zoo's given the point of a head-to-head matchup, I'll take Heat in 6 or 7. I think that's what it ended up being. And that's partially experience, but also just my hesitation about the change.
But and plus too, if we think about it, like maybe them head-to-head, but like more than likely they're going to be playing the Cavs. And this is kind of crazy because people have had Cavs as like the dark horse, but I think it's more. I've always kind of been under the impression it's a more of a wait and see approach with them. Like I want to see what they do in the playoffs in a real series before I start anointing them. Like they could maybe knock off Boston or Milwaukee. So, but I think both of those series, if the Heat or the Knicks got the Cavs, those are going to be 6 and 7 game series. I don't think it's a sweep unless Donovan Mitchell just goes for freaking 35, then lights out. But
or 71.
I don't know. I would say I was wrong about Brunson. Watching him and how he's like watching that game against Boston. No, they didn't have Jalen Brown, but he just controls. To be a guy that small, he controls them. He makes the Knicks like fun to watch because he gets everybody involved, and he's just he's tough. Like, I don't know. He's just. I think that season with Luka last year, getting to the Western Conference Finals, really gave him a lot
Huge
of
confidence boost.
Yeah, a lot. I think
by
he did.
far.
So, and with the West, I'm gonna let you guys handle that because I don't. Nothing in that conference is gonna surprise me. What happens? Nothing.
That's all I was gonna say.
No upset. Nothing is gonna surprise me, bro. Nothing. Because even at the teams, like I said, if you look through the 7 through the 10, those guys that are jostling for that, they all got guys that can get buckets. So, like, if the Clippers right now, I think they're 5th or 6th. If they beat, I don't know, a 4 or 5.
I'm gonna say one team, man. Minnesota Timberwolves, man. I do not like that roster, man.
I do
not
well,
like
they're free falling a little bit.
But they're still in that play mix. Anthony Edwards proved himself to be an all-star caliber player. And I think this guy's gonna be a perennial all-star for the next decade in the NBA. So if he averages 30 in the playoffs, he can carry his team. But man, that roster, man, I don't like it at all.
No more Beasley.
Yeah, they got rid of all their role players. Vanderbilt,
Yeah.
Defensive
Who's
stopper,
nasty, bro.
We slow. Yeah, he bothered Luka
nasty.
Doncic, man. Bothered Luka Doncic.
He's gonna get. I think Vanderbilt's got 2 years left for one. He's gonna get paid. He is like the perfect glue guy.
He's the perfect role player. He's the perfect role player that you need around your superstars. Does all the dirty work, man. Your stars get buckets. This guy gets all the rebounds and plays defense. So that Timberwolves roster, man. Nah, it ain't it, man. They got a man in Rudy Gobert who's getting outplayed by a rookie and Walker Kessler in the Utah Jazz. That's all I gotta say. They're putting up the same exact numbers, except one dude's a rookie, man, super young, super cheap, man, and he's putting up the same numbers as Rudy Gobert, and they could have kept him.
I think the only one is, and I'll keep talking about him, man, until we get tired of it. But the Sacramento Kings, man, got a 3-6 matchup with the Mavs. I'm questioning, and I might bet on the Kings in a 7-game series.
Mavs, they look kind of suspect.
Neither team plays. The Mavs just have no role players. We know that they have the 2 studs. I think we've talked about this, obviously, but I just like the more complete team, man. They have a solid big man. They have a true point guard where he has the ball in his hands. Who is going to have the ball in his hands on the Dallas side in crunch time, to Sean's point? 4 minutes left. You're down 6.
I don't know.
Is it going to be Kyrie or is it going to be Luka? They're going to be handing it off.
They got to figure out that chemistry, man. This has been an absolute disaster in crunch time
all
the first couple of games.
If the Kings, let's say it's right now 3-6, it's Kings, Mavs, and Kings move on, and they get to play the Grizzlies in the second round, I also might consider betting on the Kings against the Grizzlies, man.
Oh, wow.
That's another team. Wow. The only team I'd be scared of is probably the Nuggets, because I don't think that they'd have the ability to handle Jokic. You know, Sabonis is a big guy, but no one can really handle Jokic.
Yeah, that'd be.
And then at the same time, you know, you look at some of the Clippers could cause some problems too, just with how much they stretch the floor. So, I'm just seeing if it's today, right now, I could see the Kings potentially having 2 big upsets, even though I think a lot, they are the higher seed, but I'd consider talent-wise, people would write them off. They'd want to bet on Doncic. They'd want to bet on
absolutely.
And would overlook it. Vegas might even consider that. So they could be a little potential nice little opportunity there, Zoo. So
yeah, I feel like Vegas I feel like if this is a 3-6 matchup with Doncic, I think Vegas will favor the Dallas Mavericks, man, just based on Luka Doncic's playoff resume. This dude's absolutely nuclear. Has never had a bad playoff series. This guy's been on an unreal level. And Kyrie Irving's been balling too. Like, they're averaging 29 a game. They just haven't been winning games. Like, they've been competitive in all the games.
They need a center, bro. That's another problem. They need a center.
Dwight Powell ain't the answer.
Dwight Powell is
Jason Kidd, man. I'm questioning his coaching sometimes, man. Like, you got Christian Wood off the bench, man. You're going all offense right now. Dwight Powell ain't getting it done. Even on the defensive end, I don't even think he's that good at defense. So I'm like, if we're going to go like all offense with Kyrie and Luka Doncic, put in Christian Wood as a rim runner and a 3-point shooter. So I don't know what that coaching has been, man. The Sacramento Kings.
I think that is. I think that's because like, who else on the bench could give you options to score off the bench? That's probably part of the reason why they want him off the bench.
But if I'm Kidd, I'm gonna stagger Kyrie and Luka's minutes, man. Like, every minute of the game, one of those guys gonna be in the game. So I'm gonna stagger their minutes, man, to make sure you got one dominant ball handler and playmaker and shooter to be in the game at all times. So that's my solution for balancing the lack of depth on that roster. But man, the Sacramento Kings, man, like, this all-time game, man. I'm impressed, man. I call them the cute team, man. Oh man, I'm gonna keep saying they're a cute team because the team is extremely young.
Yes,
but I feel like next year, after getting the playoff experience this year, man, and you add another veteran, they can move into that young team that's really good in that Memphis Grizzly tier, like evolve in that. But I feel like this year, man, I still think they're one and done in the playoffs.
Really?
Yes.
I think they'll force a good series at least.
Oh yeah, because De'Aaron Fox, man, is unbelievable this
Another
season.
guy was wrong.
Like I remember when he was snubbed for the All-Star like initially, and I was like, that is some blasphemy. And I'm like, this dude's having an unreal season. Like he's probably gonna win this new award, the Clutch Player of the Year award. De'Aaron Fox could win that award because this dude in the mid-range is unbelievable. His defense too against that Clippers, man, he stripped the ball multiple times. First of all, I don't know why Plumlee was in the game. Double teaming Paul George, Kawhi, they give it to Plumlee. De'Aaron Fox, man, swiping, man, stole the ball from him like three straight times, man. That was embarrassing what the Clippers are running. But De'Aaron Fox, man, Jesus Christ, this dude is unbelievable. So fast, man. Improved the jump shot. His mid-range is money. It is absolute money. And him and his chemistry with this Kentucky team and Malik Monk, man, Jesus Christ, when that dude was on, that dude was dunking like double. That dude was dunking like overtime. And they're coming off a back-to-back, and they had the energy to get it done because of that youth, man. That is straight youth and energy.
That's what I'm
they
saying.
Beat the Clippers, man, which I think have as a championship contender. So, man, Sacramento, man, I'm rooting for him, man. It's a young team, man. I still call them a cute storm, man. But, man, they could prove me wrong. They somehow jump that barrier from being a young team to a great team. So, I really do like the Kings roster right now, man. Shouts to them, man. Looking at that Sabonis trade is
Mike Brown.
Yeah, shout out to Mike Brown. He's probably on track to win Coach of the Year this year because I don't think anybody had the Sacramento Kings being a top 3 team in the Western Conference this year. So they're definitely beating expectations by a significant amount. And I don't think it's a fluke getting a new coach in, and the offense has been number 1 in the NBA. Number 1.
Just don't pull Mike D'Antoni and choke in the playoffs like you used to with the Phoenix Suns, man. That's all I got to say.
See, that's what I'm saying. Speaking of the Suns, like, and I know all this is subject to change, but like I'm looking at the 4-5 matchup with the Clippers. I know everybody just wants to anoint the Suns, but would anybody be shocked if the Clippers beat the Suns if they matched up? They would not. Like, would anybody be shocked with? I'm even saying, like, to your point, P-Wish, with the Grizzlies, like whoever they get in that 7 or 8, like you really don't know who it's going to be because I think
it could be the Warriors, man.
Rules.
Yep.
I got to see Steph come back. And then Draymond's questionable now. Like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't like how they've looked with Steph being gone. Like, Poole got paid all that money, and he's a liable. Like, I won't say he's a liability.
Tyler
on the
Hero
defensive side, but
Stop.
I would
he's
say
better than Tyler Hero. He's better. Man. He is better than Tyler.
I won't go that far, but I will say that I expected him to take more of a leap, and he had a horrific situation at the beginning of the season, so we don't know how that maybe played into like his psyche and just his whole dynamic with the team. But his step, I feel like with Steph being off the court, I thought would just be higher, and it's just not been what I thought it would be. Maybe he'll turn on in the playoffs, but the Warriors, I'm just not going to give them any type of leeway until I see Steph back and healthy. So it's just like, I feel like in that top 6, and that's what I wanted to keep the conversation around. I just feel like any of those teams, if they beat each other, it's not surprising. Like I said, the Kings will probably be the most surprising if they got 2, like, the first round and the second round. Like, if they got 2 upsets, then that would kind of be like, oh, like, okay, well, the Kings are serious now. But that's why I just kind of, for me, I just looked at the East because the West, to me, there's so many loaded teams.
Ridiculous.
Like, yes, it's insane. So I'm going to be very interested, I think, more so with that side of the conference to see how it slots, like, seeding-wise, because if we get Clippers and Suns, that's probably going 7, and it's going to be a knockdown drag.
That would be incredible.
Yeah, that would be – I think that's going to be the best series.
Stars everywhere.
Should be a great NBA
It's going to be pressure on – it's going to be – I feel like it's going to be a knockdown because there's going to be so much pressure on both sides. Like, it's, the 4th year of Kawhi and Paul George. They made all those moves in the trade deadline. Then you got, I know KD's already locked into his contract, but – people are not thinking about, well, we got time. No.
CP3 has a time. Like, he's almost about 38, man. He's got like maybe a year, 2 max left.
Maybe,
like
max.
He's close to retiring.
So for it to be a first round series,
Nash, Los Angeles Lakers vibe, man. That's kind of the vibe they're in CP3 now, man. Hitting the tail end.
Gonna need to figure it out. So it's gonna be so many storylines just in that first round series if it stays true. So that would be one of the best matchups in the first round in a long time. So we're going to be looking into all those matchups and just, monitoring the jockeying of going up and down in the top 6. But I wanted to transition and give Dame a shout out. One thing I want to say about Dame, man, for him being 6'1", I guess you can give him 6'2" on a good day and getting 71 points. Same thing with Donovan Mitchell. Like, that's just so insane. It's insane that a player of that height, and we can say that's relatively short in the NBA frame. I know in real life that's pretty tall, but I'm just saying in the NBA framework of playing in a game, it's just insane that you can get any shot on the floor like Dame can get and just go ham. So I wanted to ask the guys, who are some players, because I think it's inevitable at least within the next 2 or 3 years that somebody could get close to the 100 point range. So I wanted to ask the guys, who could you see? Maybe it's a guy that's in the NBA draft. Maybe it's a guy that's in the league currently. Maybe it's a guy that's 3 or 4 years down the road. Zoo, who do you think that could be?
Don't you dare say Wembanyama, Zoo. That's all.
No. For this criteria right now, like we're in this time where there's definitely inflation in scoring. Like you see teams right now, like the pace is higher, 3-point shooting is higher, more efficiency in the offense right now. So this inflation, like I think 80 for sure is going to happen. 80 points.
80?
I think 90 is 100, man. 100. That's like, I don't know about 100. I think it'd go 85 plus. I think 85 is very, very possible with this era of shooting right now. And the only guys that can get it are 3-point snipers, man. Because I am shocked because right now the 3-point record is still 14 3-pointers by Mr. Klay Thompson himself. 14 threes. I am pretty surprised that there's no play that has hit like 17 threes or 8 or 23 pointers. I just feel like one of these days, one of these guards would get so hot because Dame started like that. He dropped 40 and a half, man. He had like 8 threes in the first half, man. Dude, maybe it was against better competition and you have an extra overtime or two, man. You could get up to the 80s, man. So right now, my guys are Dame Lillard, Steph Curry.
For sure.
Those are the two dudes. Those are the two dudes, man. It's going to take an aerial assault. It's going to take an aerial assault. And a third guy, Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson, man. I'm telling you, man. Right. It's going to take 3-point shooting that we've never seen before to hit stuff like that. Because, man, I seen Klay Thompson against Chicago Bulls drop 50, man, in like 29 minutes.
Yeah.
If he was in a more competitive game, man, they actually had to play more and shoot more, man. Like, exactly. You got, like, it's going to require like a double overtime. That's what's going to happen.
Klay can't get because Steph's on this team.
See, that's the thing. Yeah, and that's what I was going to maybe I'm thinking
Steph will not allow that.
No. Steph dropped 60 before. Steph dropped 60
I'm saying Steph will not allow Klay to get 100. You think the best shooter in the world is going to allow his teammate to get 100 points?
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
It's not how that works. Steph's got an ego, bro.
Stop. He's got probably the most less ego in the NBA.
Yeah, he do, but he's still an NBA player. I can't. No, that's crazy. I can't let you get 100. I'm sorry. That's just me personally. But go ahead, people.
All right, maybe I'm thinking about this too logically, but I'm actually going to say that nobody will hit that mark. I don't think anybody will pass Kobe. And here's why.
No, I think for sure someone is.
What did Kobe have? 81.
Let me explain.
Man. For sure, 81. For sure.
First of all, the only guys that really end up doing that to that level are guys that are running their own team. Lillard got no help. Kobe at that point had no help. Will Chamberlain obviously was his own. Yeah, he was his own team. That's literally. And you got to remember that season, Wilt averaged a full game. He never sat. And I'm not saying because some people say, he didn't actually hit 100. The man still at least had 85 to 90. Right? There's no clips of the actual game. Right? We can talk about that another day. But. You have to look at guys that, most of the best players in the world now want to play with another star. And to Sean's point, I don't think it's that Steph doesn't want Klay to score. It's just that they're sharing shots, right? Klay puts up, what did he put up? 68, 69 in like 30 something minutes or something when he hit that 14 threes, something like that. I just think based on load management, age, and sharing the ball, I just don't think the NBA nowadays it's too compact on the teams with so many stars that I don't think anybody needs to or has to have that volume of shooting to win a game. I mean, Kobe got pulled with I think he only played 41, 42 minutes in that 81-point game. Mm-hmm. He probably could have hit 90. But once again, when a guy's having that good of a game, 9 times out of 10, they're blowing that team out, right? So once again, you also don't want to risk injury. So I just think the way the NBA is trending, yes, there's an inflation in scoring, but it's also spread out across a couple people. We saw 2 45-point games by the Kings, right? I think, did Fox have 44 that game? Malik Monk had like 45, right? No one had 80, right? Even though they put up 176 points, it was split across more guys. So I don't know. I just don't see it happening logically, But I agree with the choices you made, Zoo. I think that it would have to be an aerial assault. It could be a Lillard. It could be a Steph or a Clay. I also think if Tatum didn't have Jalen Brown, Tatum could probably put up 80 if he wanted to. He just had to be hot from three. So I don't know if anybody will do it.
But I think for sure in the next 5 years, I think someone's going to beat Kobe's record.
If they add they add a 4-point shot.
No, 4-point line. That's imaginary. With the rules right now, someone's going to drop 80. Damian Lillard dropped 71 in 39 minutes. Yeah. 39 minutes. And it's going to be against one of these really awful defenses. You're going to take advantage of that. But he did 71 in 39 minutes. Imagine if you played 40, 45, or 48.
Exactly. But they don't do that anymore.
What do you mean they don't do that anymore?
Unless it's a double overtime game. I agree with you. It would have to be a double overtime game. Guys don't play 48 minutes that much anymore in a regular game.
I disagree, man. With the play-in tournament has elevated the regular season to be more important. Sure. Seeding has mattered way more. I love to see 1 to 6. You're an elite team. 7, 8, you're barely above 50% of the playoffs, 50% of your conference, and you got 3 teams tanking down there who's not really trying. So the elevation of regular season games has mattered with the play-in tournament. And if you're trying to fight for a 6 seed, man, I'm telling you, man, there's gonna be more playoff type atmospheres with these regular season games. So there's gonna be more urgency. And you're just gonna take a die to take over.
Yeah, but like I said, it's going to be one of those guys where he is the team because that's the only way they can win is if they put up. We talked about this. I'm not saying it needs to be 70, but Lillard needs to put up 35 a game to really keep their Blazers as a relevant team. When he puts up 71, they're winning nicely, right? They're winning. They're a cute story. Only when Lillard is having an absolute godly game. And my point is that a lot of the stars that I think you and I are saying could put up 80. Are not in the same situation that Lillard's in, where they need to get that many points. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I think that's where I'm just kind of running into the issue is Donovan Mitchell had 71, but he doesn't need 71. It does help their team.
Oh, he needed that to beat the Bulls.
He needed it to beat the Bulls, which is sad. But, I don't know. I just don't see a lot of the other guys. Steph and Clay, sure, they could, but they just don't need to.
Clay dropped 30, 37 a quarter.
Yeah.
These guys
they already won the game.
These guys already won.
I think it all depends on Dame at half had 40 or 41 points. I think that is always the determining. I think that's the main determining factor. If you can get to the 40, 45 point range, if you're just that hot by halftime, if you're in that range of scoring, then it's doable to get to the 70 and 80 range. But I do agree that it has to be a guy that is a younger guy that's in his, I guess you could say, rookie contract, like an Anthony Edwards. I mean, Dame's not in his rookie contract, but he's on a team that nobody's a really defined number 2. So it has to be a guy who is a guy that can shoot threes, a guy that has, especially with Dame, he can shoot from all over the floor. That's why, for me, my pick is Dame because he can just shoot from anywhere on the floor. So it doesn't matter where he pulls up.
I think he's the only one.
Yeah. Anthony Edwards, if he ever improved his shooting, maybe could get there, but
he did it against the Rockets.
Yeah. And it has to be a really, really bad team that you're playing too. Because then there's going to be pride that comes in because you're not going to be able to do that against a team that's, trying to at least get into the play-in. They're gonna double you and get the ball out of your hands. So Dame to me is just because he's the ultimate shot maker. But I do believe that it's just gonna increase year by year with players because how the game has changed with the 3-point shot. It's not like everybody's running around.
14 doesn't seem that high for an all-time record. Because you got guys hitting 8 threes and a half. I've seen it multiple times.
Reggie Bullock,
and those are guys that are just
8 minutes,
random.
Yeah, you got dudes like Sadiq Bey hitting 10 threes in one game. That's Sadiq Bey, a role player. Imagine, I just feel 23s can't happen. I think that can happen.
I just don't think one person gets the volume. I think that's the issue. There's a lot of egos. There's a lot of actual other stars.
Nobody on Steph Steph and Clay are never doing that. It's never happened.
Oh, yes, they are, man. Are you kidding me? They're the most egoless guys ever, man. They got nothing to prove, man. They got nothing to prove.
Listen, I'm telling you, Steph. Do you think Steph Curry will allow Klay Thompson to get 100 points?
Man, he'll get 20 assists.
You know how much shit Klay Thompson would talk? I don't care how great Steph is.
They call the Splash Brothers for a reason, man. They call the Splash Brothers for a reason, man.
That is a misconception about Steph. Steph cares. He's not an ego guy. We know that. But no. He's still an NBA player who's a top 10
He
guy.
let Kevin Durant. He let Kevin Durant come to his franchise and win Finals MVP.
You know what? That's KD. That was come on.
That's an outsider.
Like
that's an outsider, man.
But it's still KD.
Steph
like
doesn't
if
play
KD
ego
wants to come, he
basketball,
gets to come.
I think
nah. Stephen ego just does not. He's like Tim Duncan, man. He got no ego. He's the one of the few.
And plus, too, I think the relationship is different. Like KD's an outsider to people's point, but Clay is like that's kind of like your brother. You don't want your brother scoring 100 points. No, you don't. You don't want
the record.
Like, no, that's gonna bother you a little bit.
About, man? This makes no sense at all, man. Steph is one of the most selfless superstars ever. Like
nobody's arguing that, but he's still competitive, dude. Like.
No, he's competitive against the other freaking team, man, not his own teammate. If Klay Thompson was cooking, I was watching that Bulls game. Just kept feeding him, man. Just kept feeding him, man. No. The dudes go
60. You said 60 points, not 100. That's a little different.
If he hadn't played the fourth quarter, he would have hit 70 points. And he would have kept feeding him. But
70. I said 100, Zoo. I didn't say 70. I said 100.
100, man. It doesn't matter, man. No. He will let them go off, man.
No. That does matter. 100 has never been done. 70 hasn't been done either, but that's a difference from hyping your guy up at 100 points versus 70. That's a huge difference because that'll never be done again.
Steph Curry, the most selfless superstar ever, man.
I don't think they really
I just wouldn't.
They both also played limited minutes.
Yeah.
That's also the other thing.
That's why I think it's not going to happen.
They both have the potential to do it. Anybody in the NBA has the potential to put up 100 points if they're really feeling it. Not anybody.
No,
the stars.
No. There's less. I would say less than 5. I would say less than 5.
Okay, there's multiple. All right, sure.
Because I love LeBron. I don't think he could do it because his shooting is just not as good.
He probably could have in 2012 if he wasn't playing with 2 other Hall of Famers. That's my point.
Because he got 60. He got 60 at one point.
He's got 60, but he got that hard, man. Like that was tough.
And yes, it's the threes are big. You know, otherwise you could argue Giannis.
Yeah, that's the
Shaq
I love Giannis. No, it's just not happening.
But Shaq had like 60 plus a couple
times.
Like
once, and that took like 60
with no threes.
Embiid could do it if he got hot. If he got hot, because he can shoot the 3, Embiid could do it if he got hot.
And
he could do it because he can shoot the 3.
Harden could have.
Harden's another one, yeah, but he's too old now.
Houston Harden.
Exactly.
Houston Harden.
Yeah, Houston Harden could do it.
Sixers Harden's a little different story.
So like 2014 Steph, 2013, 14, 15 Steph probably could have done it.
Steph is still in his prime. Steph is still in his prime. Last year, Steph Curry was the best Steph Curry I've seen against the Boston Celtics.
They're not going to mess with his health, though, Zoo. If he has 60 at the 38-minute mark of playing, they're not going to be like, oh, let him play out another 10 minutes and hope,
if it's a close game, I'm playing him.
Sure, but if you're scoring that much,
this ain't the same Warriors. This ain't the KD Warriors, man. They ain't blowing out teams anymore, man. They are in the pack like every other team now.
Yeah.
So I'm just Steph Curry is still peak. He is still in his prime. He's still in his prime. He's still.
That's Clay on the team.
Steph Curry.
No one will ever do it.
I do think though,
beating Kobe's record for sure is going to happen. Not 100. 100 is just it feels so fairy tale-ish that the Will Chamberlain there's no tape of that. I don't even know if that happened.
If he did that.
Yeah, we don't even know if that happened or not.
Might be fake news.
It might be a folk tale, man. It might be a folk tale story. But 80,
100. You got the picture.
But what? 82, 82 for sure. I think it could happen.
It could happen
for sure. There's no doubt in my mind with this offensive scoring that's happening in this renaissance in the NBA right now. So,
but it's going to be interesting to also see like just the incoming flux of talent that comes into the league and how they're able to adapt to scoring and how the physicality of an NBA schedule and all that stuff. And I think a lot of the players that are coming into the league are definitely centered their games around scoring the basketball. So this is going to be a topic that I'm sure we're going to be able to talk about for an eternity when it comes to NBA, folklore and things like Wilt Chamberlain and his alleged 100 points. So you guys make sure you tune into the Bullheaded _pod podcast. We will be getting into March Madness in the next couple of weeks. NFL Combine's going on. It's going to be a lot of draft day stuff going on with that. So make sure you tune into Bullheaded _pod on Instagram, TikTok, Bullheaded864. Quantro knows the YouTube page, Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts. Make sure you guys rate and review. And for me, Zoo, and P. Bush, we are out.